Ladies and gentlemen, tonight we're going to explore something a little more intriguing, a little more daring, an aspect of intimacy that many of us might shy away from talking about openly. We're going to dive into 6 things that men secretly want to try in bed, but often won't admit. These are desires that, when expressed with trust and communication, can enhance any relationship and create deeper connections. So let's break down some of those unspoken fantasies and understand why they might be more common than you think. Let's start with the first key point, something that really gets people talking and often makes them raise an eyebrow: dominance and submission. Now, before we dive in, let's be clear. We're not talking about control in the traditional sense, where someone is disrespected or hurt. This is about exploring power dynamics in a way that feels safe and consensual. It's about navigating a space where boundaries are respected and trust runs deep. When we talk about men secretly wanting to explore dominance or submission, we're getting to the deeper layers of desire that might always be visible on the surface. For many men, there is this ingrained societal expectation to be the strong, confident, and dominant figure in all aspects of life. From a young age, they are conditioned to believe that they must always be in control, always leading the charge, always handling things with strength and determination. And while this might be true in certain areas of life, it doesn't always reflect their inner world, especially when it comes to intimate moments. Beneath the confident exterior, there might be a yearning to explore something a little different. Imagine for a moment the idea of allowing someone else to take the lead. For many men, this concept is deeply enticing, but something they wouldn't easily admit. It's not about wanting to lose control or to be passive, but rather about experiencing vulnerability in a way that's safe and intimate. The very act of letting go and allowing a partner to take charge can create a deep sense of emotional release. It's an escape from the constant pressure to perform and to be in control, even the most private of moments. In a world where men are often taught to hide their emotions, this could be a rare opportunity for them to experience something real, unguarded, and freeing. On the flip side, men might also be secretly drawn to taking on a dominant role in the bedroom. And again, it's not about exerting power in a harmful or unhealthy way. It's more about taking control of a situation in a way that's empowering for both partners. When a man finds himself in a position of dominance, the sense of control can be exhilarating. But it's not the type of control that stems from a place of aggression or ego. It's a control that comes from a place of trust and care. The ideating and protecting someone through an intimate experience can be deeply fulfilling. It's not about making the other person feel small. It's about creating a space where both people can lose themselves in the experience and feel alive. What's interesting, however, is that these fantasies often remain unspoken. Men might have this desire to either give up control or take control, but they often struggle with how to express it. The hesitation comes from a few places. For one, there's the fear of judgment, the worry that they'll be seen as weak or less masculine for wanting to explore submission, or too domineering if they want to assert control. There's also a real sense of vulnerability that accompanies these desires. In order to let go of control, you have to trust the other person completely, and that level of trust can be intimidating. In a world that often praises strength, letting go can feel like a risky move, especially in such a private and intimate setting. But here's the truth: this exploration of power dynamics, whether it's dominance or submission, is an incredibly natural and human desire. It's not about forcing someone into a role they're not comfortable with. It's about consensually exploring different sides of your personality and desires. It's about tapping into something deeper and connecting with your partner in a way that's unexpected but powerful. When done right, this type of dynamic can deepen intimacy and create a sense of connection that's difficult to replicate through other forms of interaction. What makes this exploration even more significant is that it allows both partners to step outside the roles they're used to playing in the world. For a man, it's an opportunity to step out of the box society has placed him in, to release the weight of expectations, and to experience a different facet of his personality in a safe, trusting environment. It can be a freeing experience, one that might make him feel lighter, more in touch with his feelings, and more connected with his partner. The key here is trust. Without it, this kind of dynamic can't work. And here's where things get really exciting. When both partners are willing to be open and explore power dynamics in a respectful and safe way, they create the perfect environment for personal growth. It's about expanding your own boundaries and the boundaries of your relationship. It's about shedding old ideas of what intimacy is supposed to be and crafting something that works for you and your partner. For some men, that might mean giving up control and experiencing a new kind of pleasure that comes from vulnerability. For others, it might mean stepping into a more assertive role and discovering the confidence that comes from guiding their partner. Whatever the dynamic, it opens up an entirely new way of relating to each other. In the end, the desire to explore dominance and submission is not about weakness or a lack of strength. It's about vulnerability, trust, and the courage to step outside the comfort zones we've built for ourselves. For men who keep these desires to themselves, it's not because they lack the courage to speak up. It's because they're navigating a world where those desires are often misunderstood or dismissed. The truth is, everyone, regardless of gender, has the right to explore the depths of their desires in a way that feels safe, healthy, and fulfilling. And when we allow ourselves and our partners to do so, we create a space where real intimacy can blossom. Now, let's move on to something that many people might associate with kink, but when done right, is actually an incredibly intimate and thrilling experience like bondage. At first glance, you might think bondage sounds extreme or even intimidating, but in reality, when it's done consensually in a way that both partners are comfortable with, It can be one of the most exciting and connected forms of intimacy. When we talk about light bondage, we're not referring to intense, full-on restraints. Instead, we're exploring the idea of simply introducing a little element of control and restriction, all while maintaining a sense of trust and safety between partners. Many men secretly desire of experience because it gives them the opportunity to feel a heightened sense of anticipation and intimacy. Light bondage doesn't necessarily mean being tied up in ropes or chains. It could be as simple as using silk scarves, soft restraints, or even tying a partner's wrists together in a way that allows for movement, but still creates a feeling of being held in place. The idea behind light bondage is about playing with the notion of control in a way that makes the experience more intense and thrilling. For men, the idea of being restrained, or even restraining their partner, can be incredibly exciting because it shifts the dynamic. It adds an element of surrender or dominance depending on who is in control, and that shift creates a new kind of connection between the two people involved. The reason why many men keep this fantasy to themselves is tied to fear and vulnerability. Society often teaches men that they need to be tough, in control, and dominant in every aspect of life. This societal pressure makes it difficult for men to admit that they might want to be restrained or restrain someone else in a safe and intimate context. The idea of being tied up can feel like it goes against everything they've taught about masculinity, leaving them to shy away from exploring it in their personal relationships. But the truth is, the desire for light bondage isn't about weakness, it's about exploring new dimensions of trust, pleasure, and connection. In fact, one of the most powerful aspects of light bondage is that it creates a unique sense of vulnerability and trust between partners. When one person is restrained, it forces them to surrender control, which can be a deeply freeing experience. For men, giving up control is not something they're often taught to do. In their day-to-day lives, they're expected to be in charge, to lead, and to protect. But in the bedroom, the dynamic can shift. Light bondage allows them to explore a side of themselves where they aren't in control, which can actually be incredibly liberating. Being restrained can also heighten the senses. When movement is limited, other sensations are magnified. The feel of a hand on the skin, the sound of a breath, or the taste of lips. These heightened sensations make every touch, every movement feel more intense and intimate. On the flip side, when a man is the one doing the restraining, it's not about exerting power in a cruel or forceful way. It's about creating an environment where both partners can explore intimacy in a deeper, more connected way. The act of tying someone up or restraining them with care and attention can create a sense of nurturing dominance. It's about making sure that the person being restrained feels safe and comfortable while allowing the dynamic to shift in a way that feels exciting and new. For many men, taking on this role can be empowering. It's not about dominating someone for the sake of it. It's about guiding them through an intimate experience that both partners enjoy. It's a form of connection that is grounded in trust, not fear. For men who are hesitant to express this desire, the fear of being misunderstood often holds them back. There's a misconception that bondage is about controlling another person or about objectifying them. But when it's done properly, it's about mutual respect and exploring a deeper level of intimacy. The idea that men can want or be restrained in an intimate setting doesn't fit neatly into the typical stereotypes of what masculinity should look like. That's why it remains a fantasy they don't always feel comfortable sharing. But the truth is, this type of exploration actually strengthens the bond between two people, creating a more profound sense of intimacy and connection. What's fascinating about light bondage is that it doesn't have to be extreme. It doesn't require elaborate setups or complicated techniques. It's really about the intention behind it. A few soft ropes, silk scarves, or even just holding someone's wrists can change the way two people experience touch and connection. The power of light bondage lies in its simplicity. The more the couple trusts each other, the more they are willing to explore new ways to connect, and the more fulfilling their intimacy becomes. It's about breaking free of the rigid scripts that society often writes for us and creating something unique that feels right for both partners. This kind of play isn't just about the physical act of being restrained or restraining someone else. It's about the emotional depth it can create. The person who is restrained has to trust that their partner will not hurt them, will keep them safe, and will respect their boundaries. That trust is everything, and the person who's doing the restraining has to be equally mindful. They have to ensure that their partner feels cared for, that they understand the lines between safe play and dangerous behavior. It's about mutual respect, communication, and an open dialogue about what both partners want and need in that moment. Ultimately, light bondage isn't about power for power's sake. It's about discovering new ways to connect with your partner and exploring the boundaries of pleasure, trust, and vulnerability. It's about creating a space where both partners can feel liberated, empowered, and intimately connected. For men, the fear of expressing this desire can sometimes be overwhelming, but once that fear is overcome, it can lead to a much richer, more fulfilling relationship. Exploring this type of dynamic doesn't make someone weak, submissive, or masculine. In fact, it can be one of the most empowering and trusting experiences a couple can share. The true strength lies in the connection that's built and in the trust that's forged in the process. Let's dive into something that is often overlooked in the conversation around intimacy, but can be incredibly powerful when explored: sensory play. This is one of those things that sounds simple on the surface but can transform an intimate experience in ways that are unexpected and thrilling. Sensory play involves heightening or restricting your senses in ways that deepen the experience of touch, sound, and even taste. It's not about extreme acts or intense scenarios. It's about exploring how different sensations can heighten intimacy and turn something ordinary into something extraordinary. The concept of sensory play can be as simple as using a blindfold or experimenting with different textures on the skin. For many men, the idea of being blindfolded or having their partner gently tease their skin with a soft object, a feather, or a piece of silk is surprisingly alluring. It's not about anything dramatic or wild. It's about creating an environment where every touch, every sensation feels amplified. When one sense is removed or heightened, the others become more acute, and this creates a deeper connection with your partner. For men, this kind of play allows them to experience a new level of pleasure because they're engaging with their bodies in a different way. Imagine being blindfolded, not knowing what's coming next. The anticipation is electric. Every sound becomes sharper, every movement more intense. A simple touch of the skin can feel like an electric shock when your vision is taken away. For many men, the idea of surrendering control, even momentarily, and allowing their partner to take the lead in this way can be incredibly exciting. It's not about being helpless, it's about exploring new dimensions of sensation and connection. It's an invitation to trust your partner fully, to let go of the need to see everything and embrace the pleasure that comes from the unknown. The reason why many men may keep this desire to themselves is that it can be difficult to articulate. Society often equates masculinity with control and toughness, so the idea of willingly removing one of your senses, to surrender to your partner in such an intimate way, may seem out of place. There's a concern about vulnerability, a fear that it might be perceived as a weakness. But in reality, sensory play is about embracing vulnerability in an enriching way. It's about allowing yourself to be fully present with your partner without distractions or expectations. It's a powerful act of connection because it focuses on the here and now, on the sensations that you can both share in that moment. One of the most compelling aspects of sensory play is the way it transforms the experience of touch. When a man is blindfolded or when his body is teased with ice or soft fabrics, the usual sensation of touch becomes something more. With the visual sense removed, the skin becomes a landscape of heightened sensivity. The coolness of ice on the skin or the light pressure of a feather brushing across the chest feels completely different if the mind is distracted by visual cues. For men, this kind of play can be a revelation because it allows them to experience their own bodies in a way they never have before. It's not just about physical pleasure, it's about becoming more attuned to what feels good, where the touch is most intense, and how to deepen that pleasure with every sensation. And it's not only about the one being blindfolded or restrained. The person doing the teasing or guiding can experience their own heightened senses. The act of giving pleasure in this way, where every movement is intentional, every touch is purposeful, can also be incredibly filling. It's about building a moment of mutual anticipation where each partner becomes an integral part of the experience. There's a certain power in the way sensory play can create an almost meditative state where everything else fades away, leaving just the connection between two people. For men who enjoy giving pleasure to their partner, sensory play offers a way to do so that is uniquely intimate. It's a reminder that intimacy isn't just about what we do, but how we do it, the care, the thoughtfulness, the attention to detail. In many ways, sensory play is also a great way to explore the idea of contrast. The way hot and cold, soft and rough, light and heavy can all bring new layers of intensity. For example, the simple act of frailing an ice cube down can be incredibly stimulating as the coldness contrasts with the warmth of the skin. The sharpness of the cold can trigger an unexpected reaction, one that is heightened by the anticipation and the surprise of the sensation. Similarly, using a soft, smooth fabric like silk or satin can create a sensation that is entirely different from rougher textures. The contrast between what is expected and what is experienced can deepen the sense of connection as both partners tune into each other's responses. The beauty of sensory play lies in its versatility. You can start small with simple tools like blindfolds, feathers, or ice cubes, and gradually experiment with different textures and sensations. You don't need to go all in from the start. The exploration can unfold naturally, allowing both partners to discover what feels good and what enhances their connection. Sensory play allows for a level of communication that goes beyond words. The way a man responds to a touch, the way his body reacts to a new sensation, speaks volumes about what feels good and what doesn't. In this way, sensory play can actually enhance the understanding between partners. It invites them to communicate not just verbally but through their bodies, learning what each other enjoys and how to have the most fulfilling experiences together. Of course, like with any exploration of intimacy, trust is paramount. Sensory play works best when both partners feel comfortable enough to express their bound preferences. This kind of play should always be consensual, with both parties feeling safe and respected throughout the process. When done right, sensory play is about mutual discovery, not pushing each other into uncomfortable territory. It's about exploring the senses in a playful, light-hearted way, knowing that both partners are participating in a shared experience that brings them closer. For men, engaging in sensory play is not about something being soft or feminine. It's about expanding their own understanding of pleasure. It's about opening up to the idea that there are many ways to experience connection and excitement, and that the most thrilling moments often come from the simplest and most unexpected places. The fact that sensory play allows men to connect with their own bodies in a different way only adds to its appeal. It's an opportunity to tune into the finer details of physical pleasure, to experience a deeper, more intentional connection with their partner, and to create an intimacy that is both playful and profound. Finally, let's address a topic that many people often overlook, but is one of the most powerful forms of intimacy: dirty talk. Now, before you get any ideas, let me make it clear that we're not talking about anything crude or disrespectful here. Dirty talk, when used thoughtfully and in the right context, can be an incredibly intimate and empowering form of communication between partners. For many men, it's a desire they have, but often feel comfortable expressing. Society has a way of telling men that talking about their desires in a bold and direct way is somehow inappropriate or even emasculating. Yet the truth is, dirty talk is about much more than just words. It's about connection, confidence, and sharing something deeply personal with a partner. The reason so many men don't admit to wanting dirty talk is because there's a certain vulnerability associated with it. In a world men are taught to be stoic, restrained, and often silent about their desires, the thought of speaking openly and explicitly about what they want can feel like stepping out of line. It's easy to see how a man might worry that engaging in this type of communication could come off as awkward, cheesy, or even weak. But in reality, dirty talk, when done right, is one of the most confident ways a man can express his desires and deepen the connection with his partner. It's a form of communication that involves sharing and listening, of tuning into each other's needs and responding in a way that is empowering for both people. The key to dirty talk is knowing how to approach it. For many men, it's about finding the right balance, not going overboard with explicit language, but rather choosing words that feel natural and enticing. It's not about shocking your partner with every line. It's about building anticipation, creating a space where both people can feel comfortable and free to express their desires. The power of dirty talk lies in its ability to steer emotions, to heighten the sense of connection, and to make both partners feel desired and wanted. When a man engages in dirty talk, it's often not about impressing his partner with creative or daring phrases. It's about conveying a raw, genuine desire, about showing his partner that he's in tune with her, that he knows what she likes, and that he's willing to vocalize his own desires. It's not just about saying naughty things. It's about using a hands to enhance the hand experience and make the connection feel more intimate. It's a form of verbal touch, an extension of the physical sensations that are already happening, and it can make everything feel more intense and thrilling. The anticipation that builds through dirty talk can set the stage for a much deeper and more satisfying experience. The idea of speaking openly about what feels good, what excites you, and what you want to do can make partners feel seen and appreciated in a way that's often missed in non-verbal moments of intimacy. For many men, the desire for dirty talk is a form of confidence in the bedroom. When they speak their desires aloud, it shows an openness and a sense of vulnerability that can make them feel even more connected to their partner. It's a subtle way of saying, trust you enough to share my deepest wants with you. It's not about dominance or being overpowering, but about being authentic and engaged in the moment. When both partners embrace this kind of communication, it can help get on the same page in ways that non-verbal cues may not achieve. It opens up a dialogue that can improve intimacy. As partners begin to understand each other's desires and boundaries more clearly, it's also important to note that dirty talk isn't just for men. It's an opportunity for both partners to express their desires in ways that feel empowering and exciting. While men may feel hesitant to initiate this kind of conversation, it can be a way to invite their partner to be equally open about their own fantasies and wants. This kind of verbal exploration is not just a one-side activity, it's a shared experience. It's a way for both partners to be vulnerable and open with each other, and the result is often a heightened sense of intimacy and excitement. When men embrace dirty talk, they're often giving permission for their partner to be equally free in expressing their desires too. For some men, the idea of dirty talk can initially feel awkward. They may worry that they'll say the wrong thing or that they'll come across as too forceful or overly eager. But the truth is, dirty talk doesn't have to be overly complicated. It can be as simple as expressing appreciation for your partner's body, telling them what you like, or even whispering something sexy that feels natural in the moment. The beauty of this kind of communication is that it doesn't have to follow a script. It's about being authentic and in the moment, feeling the flow of connection and responding to your partner's energy and desires. One of the main reasons why men don't always admit to wanting dirty talk is because it's often seen as taboo or out of place. This belief that only certain kinds of people enjoy it, or that it's reserved for certain types of relationships. But in reality, dirty talk is something that can work any relationship when both partners are open to it. It's a way to deepen the bond, to explore new aspects of intimacy, and to strengthen the emotional connection. It's not about being crude, it's about being real and present with your partner. It's about showing them that you're willing to share your deepest desires and that you want them to share theirs with you as well. The beauty of dirty talk is that it can also enhance the physical experience. The words that are spoken can create a sense of heightened anticipation, allowing both partners to become more in tune with each other's energy and needs. For men, speaking openly about their desires can serve as a kind of reassurance, a way of confirming that they are engaged and excited in the moment. This creates a cycle of mutual desire, where both partners can feed off each other's energy, and the physical act becomes even more fulfilling. The verbal exchange that occurs during intimate moments becomes a powerful tool for connecting on a deeper level. Ultimately, dirty talk is a way for men to express confidence, vulnerability, and desire all at once. It's not just about words, it's about creating an experience that feels exciting, empowering, and intimate. When both partners feel safe enough to speak openly and share their fantasies, it can lead to a new level of trust and intimacy. So, the next time you find yourself in an intimate situation, don't be afraid to speak up. It might just be the key to unlocking a whole new dimension of connection with your partner.